Have you ever had someone tell you that you're just not good enough? That your dreams are too big, or that you'll never amount to anything? I have. And the person who said it was my own teacher. Today, I'm going to share the story of how one person's doubt became the fuel for my greatest achievement. It all started in my freshman year of high school. I was a decent student, maybe a little quiet, still trying to figure out where I fit in. I loved learning, but I wasn't what you'd call a standout. I had this one teacher. Let's call her Mrs. Davis. She taught a subject I was genuinely interested in, but she had this way of making you feel small. She had her favorites, the naturally gifted students, and the rest of us, well, we were just there to fill the seats. One afternoon, we had parent-teacher conferences. I was excited for my parents to hear about my progress. I remember sitting there, a nervous teenager, next to my mom. Mrs. Davis looked over my grades, sighed dramatically, and then looked directly at me. She said, "You know, some students are just meant to be average. You should probably focus on more realistic goals. This advanced track. It's not for everyone." Then she turned to my mom and added, "He's a nice kid, but he just doesn't have the drive to truly excel." I was crushed, absolutely mortified. My mom tried to defend me, but the words had already hit their mark. I felt like a balloon that had been popped. Average. Doesn't have the drive. The words echoed in my head for weeks. For a little while, I actually believed her. I started slacking off, thinking, what's the point? If my own teacher doesn't believe in me, why should I? My grades started to slip, and I felt myself drifting. But then, something shifted inside me. It was a slow burn at first, a flicker of defiance. I'd be doing my homework and her words would pop into my head. Average. And instead of feeling defeated, I started to feel angry. Angry that she would write me off so easily. Angry that she tried to put a limit on my potential. Who was she to tell me what I was capable of? That anger turned into determination. It became a quiet promise I made to myself. I wasn't going to prove her wrong for the sake of revenge. I was going to prove myself right. I deserved better than to be defined by her low expectations. So, I got to work. And I really got to work. I started staying late in the library, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I asked my other teachers for extra help, and you know what? They were more than happy to give it. I discovered a passion for subjects I never thought I'd like. I started participating in class, not to show off, but because I was genuinely engaged and had ideas to share. I joined the debate team to build my confidence. I joined study groups to learn from my peers. It wasn't easy. There were nights I was so tired from studying, I could barely keep my eyes open. There were times I bombed a test, and that voice of doubt, Mrs. Davis's voice, would creep back in. But every time it did, I pushed back harder. I used every small victory on a paper, a compliment from another teacher, understanding a complex math problem as a building block. Sophomore year, my grades were a mix of A's and B's. By junior year, they were almost all A's. I wasn't just keeping up anymore, I was leading. I was helping other students who were struggling, because I knew what it felt like to be underestimated. I remembered the sting of being told I wasn't good enough, and I never wanted anyone else to feel that way. The final stretch was senior year. The pressure was on for college applications, final exams, and the big question of who would be at the top of the class. Honestly, the thought of being valedictorian hadn't even been my main goal at the start. My goal was just to prove to myself that I was more than average, but as the year went on, I realized it was within my reach. It was the ultimate symbol of how far I'd come. I remember the day the final rankings were posted. My heart was pounding as I walked down the hallway to the main office bulletin board. I saw my friends gathered around, and as I got closer, they turned and started cheering. And there it was, at the very top of the list, my name, valedictorian. I just stood there for a moment, letting it sink in. It wasn't a feeling of I told you so, it was a profound sense of accomplishment. It was the culmination of 4 years of refusing to let someone else's opinion become my reality. I thought back to that quiet freshman, sitting in that parent-teacher conference, feeling worthless. And I just wished I could go back and tell him, hey, it's going to be okay. In fact, it's going to be better than you can ever imagine. The day of graduation, standing on that stage, looking out at my family, my friends, and my classmates, I felt an incredible sense of peace. I delivered my speech, not with arrogance, but with a message of hope. I told my story, without naming names, and I talked about the power of self-belief. I told everyone that the only person who gets to define your limits is you. After the ceremony, my mom gave me the biggest hug. She had tears in her eyes and said, "I never doubted you for a second," and that meant more to me than the medal around my neck. Sometimes, the greatest motivation can come from the most unexpected places, even from a place of negativity. Don't let anyone, whether it's a teacher, a friend, or even that doubtful voice in your own head, put a ceiling on your ambition. Use their doubt not as an anchor, but as rocket fuel. You are the author of your own story. You decide how high you fly. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've ever had a similar experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Let's create a community that lifts each other up. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. See you in the next one.